Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hey, Matt, it's Jesse from Pod Awful.
Wow, right out of the gate. Awesome. How are you, Jesse?
I'm great, man. Big fan. Thanks for having me.
Well. Thank you. Although I don't know if are you really a big fan? Because I'm fairly certain that you didn't know I existed until yesterday.
Not true. No,
Really?
I know why you think that. I did get discussed recently on your show, but
Yes.
I actually did know about you as I am a newer fan. As recently as 2 weeks ago, I
Really?
learned about you.
Interesting.
But I've been a big fan ever since, and I've been meaning to call in this whole time. But once I heard my name being said, I thought, well, here's the perfect opportunity.
Yes. Wow. Yeah. It's funny. You know, like I was saying on the show yesterday, this whole world of radio and podcasting and all of it seems so big, and yet it's so small, and that so many people kind of know each other or run across each other in nice ways. And
it's really just 5 guys in their finished basement.
Right.
If you think about it.
Well, not in
five guys managed to buy a microphone arm and then a heavy enough carpet to hang on their ceiling or something. And they just went for it, and then that's it. And it's incestuous and also cutthroat.
Right. It certainly is. Well, I'm in an actual FM radio station here, and we're on the 3rd floor. But I did.
That explains the drop ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Have them remove that.
I did start out in a basement, though. I very much did.
Get rid of the drop ceiling. I'm not a fan of it. What's under that? I bet you got a beautiful tin roof or something.
Well, we're in. I don't know if you've ever been to Manchester, New Hampshire. I'm going to assume not.
No.
But we have these old brick mill buildings here, and they convert the mill buildings into offices and radio studios and apartments and all that. But if you look at an aerial shot of Manchester, New Hampshire, you will see lots and lots of brick.
Gotcha. I lived in Brooklyn for 10 years. They had a lot of converted warehouses all the hipsters would live in. I think all of them used to be like dildo factories or something.
Oh, well, hey, they got to make them somewhere.
Yeah, so that's where they made them.
Yes. Well, I first became aware of you through Mike David of Red Bar Radio. I became, and I assume
Mike.
I assume Mike David doesn't know I exist, but although I'm in the Bring Back group there, so someone had to approve me for that.
Oh, he knows everybody in the group. He's actually your best friend.
Wow, I had no idea. I should ask him for a loan. But he, I became a fan. I don't remember how I ran across him. But I found him online like 6 or 7 years ago, and I became a fan. And then and that's how I first became aware of you. So I've been aware of you for a while. I remember him calling into your show and at one point and so on. And I know that you've been connected for a while. I don't know the full extent of your friendship, but
Mike's great. I feel bad for him. He's got a very terrible disease, but he's a great guy. He takes a lot of inspiration from my show, and I wish him the best of luck.
He takes inspiration from your show. Now that's interesting because I saw this clip, and I felt badly. It was like watching my parents fight. I saw this clip recently on YouTube, and I think that's what kind of led me down this rabbit hole. I was trying to figure out what the genesis of the conflict was, and maybe it's been resolved. You can tell me, but there seemed to be some sort of a conflict between you and Mike. And I watched the clip. You had called into his show, and I was like, well, this is terrible. I mean, it's fascinating to me because I love that kind of stuff. But it bothered me in a sense. And then after you were off the phone with him, Mike was like, yeah, he really kind of deserved that. But actually, I feel really bad. And then he seemed to feel genuinely badly about it. And then it
was a big misunderstanding. Mike's a great guy. We've been best friends since 2011 or so.
Oh, okay.
And we had this big misunderstanding where he maybe lifted a joke or two from my show. I maybe sort of made fun of him a little bit for that one time. You probably like him because – one, he is good at what he does, but two, he takes a lot of inspiration from guys like Opie and Anthony and Man Cow.
Yeah.
Yep. And I guess maybe I pointed a little bit of that out, and he didn't take too kindly to it. But it's all water under the bridge. The guy's got some sort of crap bag disease.
Yeah. I only just recently figured out because I've been wondering for a while what exactly. See, here's the thing, Jesse. I never knew if he was serious or not. On his show,
No.
Mike would talk about being sick, and
No, he's not serious. It's actually he's got a disability scam he's running.
Oh, okay.
And he's in order. The only way he was able, his wife, is Canadian. She's
Jules.
on the show.
Yeah.
Jules, the voice off screen.
Yeah.
She is. She's Canadian, and she is only allowed to be in this country as his caretaker. So it's sort of a scam they run or something like that.
Sure.
But then what's scary is, sometimes, art imitates life and vice versa. And they were telling this story for so long, and then he started telling people he got coronavirus, and it turns out that wasn't true.
Right.
And then later on, what happened was he actually got sick.
Right.
He's got a disease. I think it's called Crohn's disease, something like that.
Oh,
Crohn's disease.
I think it's Crohn's disease. Kron, I think, is a character from Star Trek or something. One of the
same thing.
Klingons. Yeah,
it's all the same. It's all related. But basically, for your listeners, if they don't know, what happens is it's an immune deficiency. It's actually a terrible, terrible disease.
Yeah.
That it's debilitating. It's somewhat degenerative. It is genetic. There is no cure, and it makes you crap in a bag, which is probably the worst part.
Yeah.
Because where you normally crap is from your butthole.
Right. Let's not get too. We are on FM, Jesse. We don't need to.
Well, I'm sorry.
Too descriptive.
Anus. What is the biological term?
Clinical terms are fine.
Clinical terms only. Anus.
Right.
So your anus is where your feces normally comes from. Right?
We get the idea. I actually had a friend who had it, and no, that is terrible. So he joked about having the illness, and then he actually got sick. It's like a Dorian Gray thing. Like he looks into the mirror and then becomes this terribly sick person.
Yeah. Emphasis on the gray. Yeah.
Right. Well, he has a lot of gray hair for someone so young.
That's not what I meant, but yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Well, that too. So yeah. So he really is sick. Well, that's too bad. I'm very sorry to hear that. For the longest time, I was trying to figure it out. But you messaged me something that I was particularly fascinated by. Our old friend, Crazy Joe?
Well, I know. I had a very, and this was years ago now.
Yeah.
Years and years ago. I've been doing, my thing for a long time.
Yeah.
And this was way early on to the point where I barely even remember it. When you said the name Crazy Joe, I was like, no, he doesn't mean that Crazy Joe, does he? And sure enough, you did. I honestly don't even remember what the run-in I had with him was, but I picked up so quickly. My whole thing on my show, I have a show called Pod Awful, by the way. I don't know if people know who the heck I am.
Yes.
But I have this show, and my whole thing is I make fun of strange people on the internet. It's, it's harmless. And I even was able to detect that Crazy Joe is properly named to the point where I went, yeah, you know what? Maybe that was not even, some guys you just don't have to make fun of.
Right.
So yeah, it was a very brief run-in with him. But when you said that name, I had a flashback. It was Vietnam style. I was back in Da Nang. I was in the rice paddy. My best friend, the Giacomo, got exploded. I had to tell his wife and kids back home. They became my wife and kids. The whole deal happened.
Wow.
It's a blink of an eye.
Sure. I understand. Yeah,
1,000-yard stare, they call it. You ever heard of that?
I have heard of that, yes.
Because the guy, what it is he always is remembering the horrors of war he saw, the ear necklaces and the driving over their faces to make their faces look like a zipper, with the tire track.
Yeah.
And that's always in the back of his
disturbing.
mind's eye. And so it causes him to stare off into the mid-distance in a horrified expression.
Right. Well,
and what the scary thing of that is you don't know, that guy might snap at any moment, but you can't say anything because of the heroic valor he has.
Yes.
You thank him for his service. And you hope that he's not carrying a pocket knife on him, but he is. He's got too many pockets on his vest.
Right. Oh, I know the vest, the type of vest you speak of. Yes. Well, we had
it was like fisherman vest.
Yes. Well, we had a very strange experience here with Crazy Joe. I don't know how he found me. I don't know how he found my show, but but even though, we're on this FM station, of course, when you're online, people from anywhere can access it, and we're very happy about that. But Crazy Joe, he would call this show. He also started calling the morning show, and he seemed to be trying to build his own thing, but he was I don't think it even exists anymore. Is Periscope still around? Or did they close that down recently?
It exists in some fashion because you can still see the old videos on there. I don't really know how it works because I'm not a gay guy.
Well, I don't know. But I don't know what that would have to do with it, but
or like a fashionista. I feel like
yes.
I feel like there was a certain all of these streaming things. They've all got their own sort of market share of people.
Sure.
I feel like I saw a lot of ladies and sort of effeminate things going on Periscope. So I don't know, and that might be what attracted Crazy Joe to it.
I don't know. I mean, he seemed to have sort of a macho thing going on, but he would call the show. He would call this show, and he was very nice, but in the beginning, but he would talk about the Crazy Joe show, and he would not only plug that it was on Periscope, and I couldn't understand why he was doing his show on Periscope, but he would go into this long, tortured explanation of how to download Periscope onto your phone and then how to find his show. And I started giving him advice because I liked Crazy Joe in the beginning. I thought he was a very interesting character. I couldn't figure out quite how much of it was real and how much of it was a character. And I would message him on Facebook and I would say, dude, you forget the Periscope thing. Do your show on YouTube or Facebook or something. And that way people can find it easily and whatnot. And he got defensive and angry. For some reason, it was very important that he do his show on Periscope. And he just turns on everybody. Like everybody who tries to help him, he just turns on them. And then he told me off and never called again.
The thing with these goons is, I call them goons, these guys.
Yes.
The thing with them is I oftentimes start out trying to help them because truly what compels me to cover them to begin with is I look at them and I go, wow, nobody's telling them don't do this. And so I come in, I go, well, I can't stop them. I know at this point you can't stop them from doing it. And God, why would I want to? I want to watch them do these things.
Right.
But in the end, I do want to help them because they could do it well, or they could do whatever their thing is. The thing that makes it hilarious or cringy or whatever you might want to call it is always like the smallest improvement could help it. And so usually I start off calling them up to sort of give them an idea or to give them just a little bit of advice. I've done this for a while, and I'm opinionated. I think that's okay. Maybe I'm wrong, but I've never seen them take the advice, so I can't assume I am wrong about it because I've never seen it put into action. And that, I think, brings us to your friend Tom Gulley.
Oh, Tom, yes. Well, now for the record, I do consider Tom a friend. I like Tom.
But you know as well as I do, you can't fix stupid. And Tom Gulley is stupid as a sack of batteries. I mean, he is a garbage pile of a person. And I don't mean like he's a bad guy. I mean, his brain just is not even firing. There's no electrical activity between the neurons. He is on autopilot. He's a human autopilot. In the airplane with the inflatable guy?
Yes.
He might as well be that, but with some stapled on wooden teeth.
So I'm a little unclear on something, Jesse. Are you saying you do like Tom or you're okay?
Love him, and he's got one of the best and most real radio shows that has ever existed.
Okay. All right.
I mean, come on. Listen, you are in a real radio station right now, and we are on the real airwaves, right?
Correct.
And that's awesome. And maybe people listen, maybe they don't. It's radio. No one's ever known the answer to that.
Right.
But the possibility is there. And you've got signs around you saying that you're on the radio. Your microphone has a flag on it. That's how you know a real radio guy. He's got a flag on his microphone. right?
Yes, yes.
So it's like knowing a real news guy. If they don't have a flag around their microphone while asking you the eyewitness information, then it's just some guy.
Yeah.
You've got a lava lamp, which is pretty cool. So I am into that. I'm not saying that ironically. So I'm really not. I am into. I mean,
I gotcha.
Take one look at my studio, you'll see. So I look at Tom, and I don't see anything wrong with a guy pretending to be on the radio. I've said this before. I look at it the same way I look at a man playing with model trains in his basement to the detriment of his family. His wife leaves him, all this kind of stuff. If it's making him happy, I've got no issue with it. And honestly, I'm impressed by it. He goes to the trouble to build the little church and the little town and the people. And he sits there and he wears his conductor hat and he goes woo woo as the train goes by. He's having a blast. And if a guy wants to pretend to be on the radio and make his own little pretend radio station in his spare bedroom of his house, I've got no issue with that. But then the part where he says he is on the real radio, and when you ask him what network, and he tells you Amazon's Alexa, then we've got a bit of an issue. And I mean, I know you like Tom.
Oh yes.
And again,
I do.
Great guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the best guys.
He has a very dry. This is what I said to Tony D yesterday, and you probably heard it. He has Tom,
I love that guy, Tony G or whatever his name is. He seemed like a smart cookie.
Tony D. Yeah. Well, Tom doesn't think so, but yes, we love
then
Tony D.
I know he is.
We love everybody. We love Tony D. We love Tom Gulley, but Tom is very dry, and that's not for everyone. I kind of enjoy Tom's bone dry humor and delivery, but that's me.
See, but it's not. This is going to be hard for me to explain, and it's going to be hard for you to take because you like him, and I know he's a big fan of your show, and so I know you kind of have to like him. But I mean, come on, that's what it is, really. But you don't, and I'm not going to pressure you into saying that. I'm not here to turn
cool.
you against him or anything.
Yeah, no worries.
But let's be honest about this quote unquote dry humor of his.
Mm-hmm.
It is not. It is dry.
Yeah.
But is it humor? You see, like there's this thing where, like for instance, British people.
Yes.
They have this thing where they are able to fool us Americans into thinking they are smart simply by speaking in a sort of erudite manner, right?
Oh, that's true. True.
When in reality, British people are some of the dumbest people you'll ever talk to. I mean, these are scum sucking like. No, hang on a second. Well, these guys they eat French fries all day long and call them chips. They're not bright people, but we are fooled. We're fooled by it. And
you're
one of the major things.
Speaking very, I was just going to say you're speaking very broadly. I'm sure there are.
I'm speaking about all British people because it is true about all of them. And by the way, my wife is British.
All right.
But she's British. She's British by way of Australia, so it kind of evened her out a little bit.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, and she chose America here, so obviously she's got some sort of sense in her head. But my point with this is, they have, in the same way they've managed to fool us with their accents, and maybe that makes us dumb, but seriously, not on the level of British people. They are frightening. Their favorite flavor is the color gray.
Oh,
So.
Okay.
I mean, if you gave them a pack of crayons, they'd start sucking on them. So the thing with British people is they have also managed to fool us with their quote-unquote humor. And we believe they have a smart, dry sense of humor. You would probably refer to something out of Britain humor-wise as smart and dry. I don't know why. Everybody seems to do that, when in reality their stuff is just boring and gay. And so I think that Tom believes that British people, he actually sincerely believes that British people are smarter because of that accent. In fact, he has sort of an Anglophile streak about him where anytime he talks to somebody from the British Isles, he starts doing his best British guy accent. It's very strange. He's got like 4 people who watch his show and he knows all of their names. And there's one of them, there's a guy like from Scotland named Thomas Hamilton.
Okay.
And every time he addresses Thomas Hamilton, he goes, Thomas Hamilton from Glasgow. But It's like, well, I would get that if the guy's name was, Seamus McGillicuddy or so. His name's
Sure.
just Thomas Hamilton. That's just a guy's name.
Right, right, yeah.
We got Thomas Hamiltons over here. And then he's got this lady who lives in some place, and every time he's got to say, she lives in Shrewsbury, Shropshire. And I don't know what he thinks he's doing by doing that. He does it every single time.
Yeah.
My point in all of this is Tom does not have a dry humor. Tom is dry, and he is automatically just doing these things. He is not. You are probably, to some degree, as a radio guy, I don't know if you consider yourself a comedian or anything. But
No.
You are probably, as a radio guy, as an entertainer, compelled to some degree to make people laugh, to like try to be funny. That is not what's going on with Tom. Tom believes that these are just the things you are supposed to say.
Yeah.
He has a sort of Rain Man-like appreciation for David Letterman. And so everything that you think of as Tom's dry humor is him just repeating things he heard from David Letterman sans humor.
Well, but it sounds like you're also suggesting Tom may have a bit of British envy.
I'm more suggesting he's autistic, but sure, that one too. Now, I don't mean that I don't mean that to be insulting in any way. And not that it should be insulting, but
right,
that's the thing.
Yeah,
to be autistic. But what I'm saying is, it is a known component of autism to sort of obsess over things to a degree. That's a huge part of autism, is to obsess about something.
Yeah,
and to do it sort of devoid of its original enjoyment. So like a classic example, there's this guy from the internet called Chris Chan, and he is obsessed with Sonic the Hedgehog.
Okay.
And if you're a kid and you are obsessed with Sonic the Hedgehog, it's because it's a fun video game and it's cool. But he is obsessed with it like to a minutia degree. Like he cares whether or not you color Sonic's arms the right color.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when Tom Gulley opens up his show and says, on tonight's show, we'll be talking about all the classics such as bicycles and whatever, and he always ends it with, and the ever popular hygiene. He says that every episode. And I'm positive he just got this from David Letterman, who I am a fan of.
Me too.
I consider that to be a comedy hero of mine.
Yes.
And so I can hear it when Tom Gulley is just soullessly parroting things that he has probably heard this man say. It's almost a level of creepy, and it's unsettling. I think the best word would be it's unsettling. And maybe if I could divorce Tom's face from his voice when he says these things, I would find it less so. But I am now incapable of that because he haunts my dreams.
Oh my! So So are you saying, Jesse? Just so I'm clear, so are you saying you're a big fan of his, or somewhat of a fan, or not so much?
Fan.
A huge fan.
Well,
yeah.
I was a huge fan.
Yeah,
and I called into a show. I played around with him. We did a little bit with him called Is This Live, where we just asked him if his show was live, and then he had a sort of a little freak out over this.
Yes, someone in the chat, who I assume is someone you know, Eliana Vigil, was asking if I was live.
Are we live right now? Are we on the airway?
We are live.
Because I heard this same episode yesterday.
Oh no, sir. Oh no. No, because you didn't call in yesterday. See?
Yeah. See, you're handling it like a normal human being. That's how a real person would respond to something like that. But for some reason, people on the internet respond to that with a total meltdown. And Tom Gulley is one of those people. I called in to Tom's show as Tom, telling him I'm him from the present. And he actually got a little bit confused on this.
Oh.
And Tom's other major malfunction in life is he believes he is a Mr. Intelligence. Mm-hmm. He believes he's a genius. I mean, you must know that. You've spoken to him, right?
Yes. I didn't get the vibe that he thought he was a genius necessarily, but
well, listen, I think didn't your guy Tony say that his own fans call into his show, and then he like sort of breaks them down to some degree. He was saying something like that yesterday,
Yeah.
and I think what he
Yeah.
meant by that was if you say even the slightest misstep, Tom will jump all over it, not in order to make you look stupid, in order to make him look smart.
Oh.
And it's always the most petty, petulant sort of. It doesn't even matter. It's the equivalent of a typo in speaking. You just accidentally trip up and say the littlest thing. He'll hang up on you, and then he'll spend 5 minutes telling Morty Vicker, his only audience member, that you are stupid. And he does all of this while sitting under a sign that says "Can't fix stupid" behind his head.
Oh, that's
but
right.
Ironically, his head just covers up the "can't" and "fix" parts.
Oh.
So it looks like he's got a sign saying "stupid" behind him.
Oh.
Tom is incapable of seeing things like that. He doesn't realize the way he looks and sounds when doing this. I attempted to help him with that, and I attempted to give him just a little bit of wiggle room in order to kind of laugh at himself for once. He's incapable of it.
Oh.
And he, of course, denied that offer and immediately became a goon. So, it's not really, it doesn't even matter if I'm a fan of him or not.
Mm-hmm.
He can't help himself. And I do have extremely strong reasons. It's circumstantial, but it's a lot of evidence to believe that Tom is the reason that my YouTube channel was terminated days ago.
Really?
Which he denies, but I believe it was him.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
I believe that we did one episode making fun of him, and that episode was taken down, and then my channel was terminated, all because he can't handle being made to look stupid.
Oh.
And if you don't know Tom's backstory, he's now spent years fighting literal children for calling him a pedophile on the internet.
Well, we don't want to go there, but
well, he didn't want to go there.
right. But see, I thought, and again, I tried to kind of piece things together just when I realized that you had been deplatformed on YouTube. I saw something about, and I don't know much about him, but this guy Mersh from Nightwave, I'd kind of been aware of him for a long time too, but I don't know much about him. But I saw something about he was denying that he had anything to do with it, but somebody thought that he did, and that he was behind it because you had some sort of a conflict with him. But I don't know any of the details of that. I just kind of, like I said, I've been trying to piece these things together because I'm so curious, but it's been hard to really put all the details together,
Yeah, well, Mersh, I mean, this is classic Radio Wars stuff.
Which I love.
It's 100%. It's Radio Wars. No, Mersh definitely tried to get people to do the same to me. I just don't believe he was successful at it.
Yeah.
And I believe Tom was.
Okay.
And just to answer somebody in your Facebook Live here saying, Tom, what did they say? Oh, Matt, why are you talking to this person? Yeah, I don't know either.
Oh, well, I'm glad you called. I've been curious to speak with you. So,
but my guess would be, I don't know if Roy was watching yesterday or listening yesterday, but you're talking about me for a while yesterday, so it would only make sense to maybe talk to me at one point, Roy. I would think, but I'll be honest. The main reason I called in,
yes,
is because I know. Here's the thing: we love calling into Tom Gulley show, and he loves banning our phone numbers.
Okay.
And he's gotten very good at banning us in his chat room and very good at banning all the phone numbers when we call in.
Yeah.
But I know he listens to your show. So
yeah.
Now he's going to have to listen to me uninterrupted whether he likes it or not. That was the main reason I wanted to call in, is I just wanted him to hear me have to speak.
So I'm getting an idea about who Roy Taylor might be.
What do you mean by that?
So do you know Chris James?
Chris James?
From Not Even a Show?
I don't know.
Okay. So that's how I met Tom. So Chris James, he's from Canada, and he does a show called Not Even a Show. And
Tom told me about this. They pranked Tom a few times.
Right. They pranked Tom, and then became friends with Tom. And same with me. Like they would prank me, but then we became friends because what Chris does, and it's fantastic. He pranks a lot of right-wing radio talk shows. And when he first ran across me, he thought that's what I was, because I mostly do politics, but I do like to foray into this other stuff just because it's fun. But so he thought I was a conservative. So he called me and was messing with me. And then he realized that my politics actually aligned much more with him and that I'm not a conservative. And then we became friends. And then his pranks became friendly. But it was the same thing with Tom. Like he and Tom became friends. And I don't know if he even calls Tom anymore. Chris never calls me anymore because there's no point in pranking me now that we're friends. But that's how I met Tom Gulley, is through Not Even a Show, Chris James.
And maybe that's why your listeners are having a little bit of trouble with me being on here, because this hasn't been very political, and maybe that's what they're used to. So I would be willing to get a little political here, and could we maybe discuss whether or not you would be willing to go under the water and rub down Biden's leg hair?
Well, the thing is, I do
like the kids used to do.
Well, I have something. We did play that clip on the show. Yes. Well, that is something that I have in common with President Biden. I also have hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. But do you let the children of the inner city rub the hair down under the water? No. Okay. That's nobody needs that imagery. But actually, so my listeners, we do. I have like probably the strangest political talk show on FM radio, because we basically do politics, but we veer off into all kinds of other stuff too, like this, I love these podcast wars and radio wars and that kind of stuff. And, we have a guy who calls us once a week named Easy G, who does this entertainment report, and it's really funny. And we do all kinds of stuff. It's a political talk show. But you feel like you've ingested hallucinogenics before you tune in very often. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And listen, I'm not a political guy at all, so I could be completely boring for your audience. I see a guy saying this guy is not funny at all. It just happens to be the same guy from a moment ago,
right?
Saying that. I don't know. Roy maybe doesn't like to have any fun, but I just think that all this stuff is very silly, and I love it when people take this sort of thing very seriously.
Yeah.
And I can't possibly take any of this seriously, which is why I don't get very political on things, because that might be where people take things the most serious. But I'll just say, all I want to do in this world is look at silly people and then make up silly jokes about them.
Yes.
And those same people want me banned from the internet. So, maybe this is a political leaning sort of thing. I'm not sure. I think there is a certain there are a certain number of people who lean a certain political way that are against people being able to say things, even if they're just jokes. And and I don't know. There could be some people that are just sensitive to that sort of thing. I don't ever purport to be everybody's cup of tea, but mostly because I hope to be a pitcher full of diarrhea on everybody's good time.
By the way, Tony D is in the chat room, and you have a new fan. He's digging you.
Tony, thank you. But I really liked you on the show that I listened to yesterday. And if you don't like Tom Gulley, you are smart. And that's just period. I don't care. You could fail your SATs completely. You could forget to put your name on them and get a 0. And if you dislike Tom Gulley, you are one of the smarter people on earth.
No,
and that's not saying anything bad about you, Matt.
I understand.
I know he's a fan, so you got to pretend like
I'm fooled by his Lettermanism. I understand what you're saying.
Let me ask you this: you ever seen an adult man wear a class ring before?
I I don't know. Probably not.
You laughed. I got you with that one.
I've never given it any thought until you asked me that. But
Tom Gulley is a 58-year-old man who wears a class ring. I mean, I thought the day I got out of high school, I threw my class ring in the garbage.
yeah,
I didn't think this was I've never seen it happen before. Tom Gulley is like, he remembers the glory days when he was playing soccer, and he's wearing his class ring, and he's wearing his Ball State hoodie. And I don't know, there's just something sick and twisted about a guy who's that stuck in the past, but is also fighting teenagers online over being called names.
right. Well, again, I just want to remind, for anyone just joining us, I like Tom Gulley, but I understand he's not your cup of tea.
You know what, Matt? I said I wasn't going to try to split you guys apart, but listen.
Oh, I know.
You got to be honest. You don't like him. You just don't want him to not like you.
No, I do like him, but I would.
No,
but
you're
I would
a radio guy.
and
you need people to like you.
I would be sad.
You don't take sides on these things. That's what's really happening.
Well, you'd be surprised, but I would feel bad. I will admit, Jesse, I would feel badly if he did not like me. That I would feel badly. I am sensitive that way. I do want to be liked.
I know. And listen, even if you keep liking Tom Gulley, I'll still like you, Matt. I'll make sure that everybody on the internet still likes you. I will only sing your praises. I love you. I don't know if you're married, but if you want to go on a date, I would consider it.
Well, I have a partner, and I prefer the ladies.
Then why do you call it a partner? What's the...
Oh, well, actually, that's a good question. I kind of
you made me think you were gay for a second, and then you completely did a switcheroo on it.
I know it's funny. Yeah, Jenny and I, we just kind of, I guess, because we're older, we're in our 40s, and it's like boyfriend, girlfriend. It just sounds kind of kiddish,
You can't say partner. You can't say partner. That sounds like you're driving a Subaru and you've got your children are Labradors.
Oh, Jenny says, nah, you have my blessing. I guess she's okay with us going out on a date.
Thank you, Jenny. See, she's one of the good ones.
Well, maybe when the pandemic is over. But let me ask you this, Jesse, and then we should wrap up soon. We've been on for a while, but what do you do? So you're deplatforming from YouTube. What do you do? Are you appealing it? What happens now?
Yeah, so I am. I've been deplatformed, and the way I was terminated from YouTube, they gave me the reason, and it wasn't what I would assume, which is like bullying or harassment or any of the things that you've heard. It's not why Alex Jones was taken off or anything. It was something that was. It's actually something I've never even heard of before. It has to do with like hacking. I don't even know. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it has to do with hacking. It's something I clearly did not do. They do give you a chance to appeal.
Yeah.
And I am currently appealing that and awaiting an answer on that, which I will. I have had the exact same YouTube channel terminated 2 other times now.
Oh.
And both times I've managed to get it back.
Yeah.
And so I just want to say to the Tom Gulleys out there, and many more, the Mershes, and there's this guy called the Santa Cruz Joker that we make fun of that is celebrating my supposed defeat right now. You may have called the game a little too early here, because one way or the other, even if they don't accept my appeal, I will be back. I will make 2 more channels where the last head was cut off. 2 more will replace it. And I am like a disease on the internet. I'm cancer, and you're going to die. So, and I do want to say this, you can find my stuff, podawful.com, podawful.pizza is where it's at right now. Luckily, I do have a very kind and loving and generous and fairly large group of supporters who pay me for content.
Yes.
And so all of that stuff, much of that stuff is still up behind the paywall, and you can still see that kind of stuff. We're working on all of that. My podcast, Pod Awful, on whatever you listen to podcasts on, it's on everything, is still up. I'm not a YouTuber. I make a podcast.
Yeah.
And so in reality, if I never had a YouTube channel again, it doesn't really matter at all.
Right.
So, I can still be found out there many, many, many places, and it's really, really preemptive. It's really early to be celebrating this one. And any back alley in the continental United States, Tom Gulley. I'm just going to say that right now.
By the way,
anywhere you call the place, I will see you there. I'm 6'7". I'm 259 pounds, and I'm completely unstoppable.
Wow. Well, you carry it well. By the way, did you say podawful.pizza?
Podawful.pizza. Yeah, we call it the Pizza Fund. It was like a joke name.
You can get a dot pizza?
Yeah, there's a dot pizza.
I'll be damned.
Yeah, they got all sorts of stuff. In fact, if you want to, there's another way you can get to my website. It's called www.autism.sexy.
Okay. I like the dot pizza.
Dot pizza is great. They got a lot of good ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's fascinating to me. Well, I love pizza.
Do we got to do a station identification?
Oh, would you like to?
Guys, you're listening to 95.3 WMNH. This is Matt Connarton Unleashed, and you can only get this by listening to the actual radio or on Facebook, unlike the Tom Gulley Show, RIP.
Well, you can just stream the audio online too on our site, but that's okay.
Or you can stream it online. You know what? You can do it. Get it through smoke signals if you live on a reservation. I don't care how you do it.
Right.
You guys make sure you tune in and always be listening to 95.3 WMNH, the proud sponsors of podawful.pizza. Thank you.
Wow. All right. Well, Jesse, thank you so much for the call. It's nice to hear from you, and we'll let you get going. But I feel like I've learned a lot about about everything.
I love you.
Oh, I love you too. All right. All right, Jesse. Thank you for wow. Jeez. Hey, careful. It's COVID. We're still in this pandemic. You can't be. You got to watch the spittle. It sounds like you're sending spittle everywhere. All right, Jesse. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, that was Jesse P.S. from Pod Awful, and very interesting to see the reactions in the Facebook live chat. Some people dig him. Looks like a lot of his fans came to hear us talk, and some people really dislike him.